Benoit Saint Denis is coming off a massive head kick KO victory over Matt Frevola at UFC 295, and I'm here to talk about how good I think he is and how I would predict him against every single ranked fighter in the lightweight division. Benoit Saint Denis has turned into one of my favorite fighters just because of how exciting it is to watch his fights. This guy has such a fun fighting style to watch because he loves to pressure forward and set an insane pace on every single opponent, no matter how dangerous they are, and typically he finds a very brutal finish. This guy has very powerful hands, very solid submissions, and very good wrestling, and I am very interested to see how he matches up against the top 15 at lightweight. I think the UFC should look into promoting Benoit Saint Denis just because he has an entire country behind him, and his style is going to be so much fun to watch, and he will keep on gaining fans just because of this. I think him versus Gamrot next makes a lot of sense. Personally, I would prefer it in a 3-rounder because I think he has a better chance to win in 3 rounds, as we haven't seen him in 5 rounds yet, but if it is a fight night main event, I won't be mad either. I would predict him to win in that matchup, but with that being said, let's get into how I would predict him against the rest of the top 15 in the lightweight division. Let's go with number 15, Drew Dober. I think he would beat Drew Dober, but this fight would be so much fun. Both of these guys love to get into firefights, and there would be a lot of fun on the feet. I just like the fact that Benoit Saint Denis can take down Drew Dober, who has been on his back before against Islam Makhachev and other opponents. I think he could get him down there if it really does become a firefight that he can't handle and potentially submit him or just ride out on top against Drew Dober and find the TKO there. I would probably go with Benoit by an insane decision. Now it could be a fight of the year, fight of the century contender. Moving on to number 14, we have Renato Moicano. Moicano has been chinned before, and he doesn't deal well with pressure. Fiziev was able to flatline Renato Moicano, but Moicano has looked very good as of late. I would pick Benoit Saint Denis by KO. I think on the feet he would pressure Moicano, be able to stuff any takedowns, and Moicano doesn't have enough power on the feet to really make Benoit Saint Denis back up. Moving on to number 13, we have Bobby Green. I think Saint Denis can potentially KO him on the feet, similar to how Drew Dober did, or take him down and TKO him or submit him there. I think Benoit Saint Denis, this is an easier matchup than the other guys on the list. Moving on to number 12, we have Jalen Turner. I would take Benoit Saint Denis here because Jalen Turner has shown holes in his wrestling defense, and also his striking didn't look that good against Dan Hooker in my opinion, and personally, I'm not super high on Dan Hooker striking myself. And Benoit Saint Denis' ability to take it down to the ground, hurt you there, or on the feet, hurt you there as well. I think he could potentially beat Jalen Turner in a stand-up fight alone, but also with the takedowns and the threat of his grappling alone will force me to pick Benoit Saint Denis in this matchup. Moving on to number 11, we have Benoit Saint Denis himself. Moving on to number 10, we have Rafael Dos Anjos. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because RDA does have a very good chin. He is pretty hittable. He lost to Fiziev, but I think Benoit Saint Denis will be able to suppress the grappling from RDA, as RDA will have a very wrestling-heavy approach, but I trust Saint Denis to be able to stuff the takedowns or scramble back up to his feet and find a big shot, especially in 3 rounds. I'm a little bit more confident in him here. In 5 rounds, I do get worried because I don't know if he can finish RDA, but he has such an insane pace that I'm not going to be picking him against RDA. But this is a very close matchup. I think stylistically, this could be one of those where we could see Benoit Saint Denis not be able to get over the hump in RDA, just with his veteran skills and tricks, be able to edge out a decision. I would go with Benoit Saint Denis, potentially by finish, probably by finish early. Not entirely sure. 3 rounds, I would definitely pick BSD, but in 5 rounds, RDA has a very good chance. Moving on to number 9, we have Dan Hooker. I go with Benoit Saint Denis, similar to why I picked Jalen Turner to lose to Benoit Saint Denis, just because Dan Hooker has been taken down by Makhachev. I don't think Benoit Saint Denis is as good of a wrestler as Islam Makhachev, which we will talk about some of those matchups later. Benoit Saint Denis is a guy that has such a big power threat on the feet, so much danger on the feet that the wrestling is just going to be that much more effective. And he is so quick at just going from a massive hook to just level changing, then boom, you're on your back. It's really hard to stuff the takedowns of a guy that can knock you out, put you in the shadow realm, and then 1 second later have you on your back, because his takedown entries maybe aren't the greatest timed ones, but they're just so quick, so athletic, he's so powerful and so strong that he will find a lot of success in doing so. Moving on to number 8, this is where I'm going to start picking some fighters against Benoit. I love the guy, but I'm not going to be biased with my predictions. I'm going to predict who I genuinely think would win the fight. And Arman Tsarukyan has been proven to be one of the best grapplers in the division. His wrestling is extremely dominant. He has very good top control, and his overall grappling is very, very solid. However, if this fight takes place on the feet, Benoit is able to stuff the takedowns. I think Benoit could chin or just overall out-damage Arman on the feet. And if Arman does take him down, I could see Benoit being able to scramble back up to his feet because he has shown very good scrambles and he has very good jiu-jitsu in his own right. But Arman has very, very good top control. And from on top, he is super dangerous himself. I would say Arman wins, but I'm not super confident. I'd probably say 55-60% chance that Arman would win. That's what I would price that at. Moving on to number 7, we have Fiziev versus Benoit Saint Denis. And this fight would, wow, now I would be very excited for this fight. I'll say that much. Fiziev is one of my favorite fighters. So is Benoit Saint Denis. Fiziev, I think, has better striking, but Benoit Saint Denis has his own style of striking to where you can't really avoid it. Fiziev has a very good chin. He ate pretty solid shots against Gaethje. He also has pretty solid takedown defense. I want to say Fiziev. I want to say Benoit Saint Denis. I don't know who I would predict. I want to say Fiziev just because Fiziev has proven he's at the top. But that's the slightest lean. Honestly, I'd say this is a 50-50 matchup. I don't know who I'd predict. I'd want to do film on that one. I'm going to say ever so slight lean Rafael Fiziev just because he has beaten a higher caliber of opponents thus far. Moving on to number 6, we have Mateusz Gamrot. I did mention this earlier. I would go with Benoit Saint Denis by an early finish. Look, everyone ends up clipping Mateusz Gamrot. I would pick Fiziev over Gamrot. I thought Fiziev was going to be able to potentially either finish him or beat him by decision. I think I picked by decision, actually, or did round 3 KO, something like that. But Fiziev was up 2 rounds. Basically, he was up the second round until he blasted out his knee. I really don't like Gamrot. Gamrot pisses me off. I thought he got robbed I thought he robbed Sarukian. I thought Fiziev was on his way to winning that fight. I think he's just a fraud, and the fact that he's ranked number 6 just really makes me mad. But I'm not biased with it. I think Gamrot doesn't have the greatest takedown entries. He did take down Sarukian a little bit earlier that I can mention, but that was when Sarukian started to gas out. He's a solid wrestler, but his takedown entries are a little bit overrated. Aren't fantastic. He's extremely hittable on the feet, and I would trust Benoit to scramble up and get back up to his feet because Gamrot's not as good as holding fighters down as an Arman Sarukian is. Mateusz Gamrot, yeah, that's actually very interesting. I think Mateusz Gamrot could definitely just survive and win by decision, especially in a 5-rounder, but in a 3-rounder, I do trust that Benoit will outdamage him in at least 2 of those rounds and potentially finish him. In a 5-rounder, we don't know how good Benoit's cardio is in 5 rounds, like I have mentioned. But I would probably still go with Benoit because I could see him finding that finish early. If there's anyone that could really put Mateusz Gamrot away, it's Benoit Saint Denis. So I'd go with Benoit Saint Denis. I would say a 60% chance of winning, 55 to 60% chance. In a 3-rounder, I'd say 60% chance. In a 5-rounder, I'd say 55% chance. Very interesting matchup. I say do this matchup, man. You can get Benoit very high into the rankings, and you can almost guarantee that he'll have an insanely fun fight with any of the other fighters that I'm about to mention. Moving on to number 5, we have Michael Chandler. I want to say Michael Chandler. Just because, I'm going to go with Michael Chandler. I have to. Benoit has beaten, like I said, the guys that aren't fantastic, and he gets hit by them. I think Michael Chandler wouldn't crack his chin, but it would hurt Benoit Saint Denis, and I think overall he probably is a better striker than Benoit Saint Denis. But slight lean, probably 55% chance from Michael Chandler. I don't think Benoit Saint Denis will be able to take down Michael Chandler because Michael Chandler has very good wrestling defense. So, yeah, we'll go with Michael Chandler, but he can make a mistake and lose that fight. So, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to say 51% chance. I'd have to do a little bit more film research on that. I might go with Benoit. I do want to see Benoit beat like one other guy before I predict him over Michael Chandler. But that's a very close prediction. I'd probably go with Michael Chandler as of now. And then when it comes to Beneil Dariush, I think I would go with Benoit Saint Denis here. Because it's a very winnable matchup for him. I think Beneil Dariush's offensive wrestling ain't fantastic. It ain't Arman Sarukian level. His defensive wrestling is fantastic, but his offensive wrestling ain't that. And his striking defense when it comes to getting pressured, as we saw against Charles Oliveira, ain't all that either. So I would probably say against Beneil Dariush, he would be able to stuff the takedowns or scramble back up to his feet because his scrambles are very good. Holy shit, dude. It's kind of weird thinking that Benoit Saint Denis could potentially get a title shot. I really hope he's not a hype train that continues to lose, but he has matchups that I think he can win. And almost every matchup is winnable. And if he really does have fantastic wrestling, this guy will make waves in the division. I think in a striking matchup, I could see him clipping Beneil Dariush and really hurting him. Which is like kind of, I don't want to underrate Beneil Dariush, but I think that's probably what would happen. I think he would be able to stuff the takedowns or scramble back up to the feet and clip Beneil Dariush. Especially in 3 rounds, because I think Beneil Dariush does have 5-round cardios. Although he hasn't been in 5-round fights yet, we've seen him in 3 rounds look very, very not gassed at all after 3 rounds, especially with Gamrot. I probably would go with, in 5 rounds, I'm going with Beneil, ever so slight lean, but in 2 rounds, I'm going with Benoit Saint Denis. Moving on to number 3, we have Dustin Poirier. He could take Dustin Poirier down. I think Dustin Poirier can scramble back up to his feet, and his jiu-jitsu has improved. Dustin Poirier is the better striker. I would go with Dustin Poirier here, probably like a 60% chance of winning. I think he's the style of fighter that really has a good chance against anybody. So I'd probably say 60% chance for Dustin Poirier to win. And then Justin Gaethje, I think Dustin Gaethje would win just because he's very good at these brawling exchanges. He's got very good leg kicks. Benoit is pretty heavy on his lead leg. And Benoit gets hurt. These guys can hurt Benoit. I don't know if they'll put him away. If they do, wow. I think Benoit's chin is just that good. And when I look at his UFC debut, like I mentioned with Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos was landing full power shots right on his chin. He was literally a punching bag, and they couldn't knock down Benoit Saint Denis. And that is a welterweight, by the way, who almost got Renat Fakhretdinov out of there in the third round. Anyways, Justin Gaethje, I'd pick over him, probably like a 60% chance because he works in the leg kicks very well, has been in these brawling exchanges, and probably would be able to stuff a majority of the takedowns from Benoit Saint Denis. And then against Oliveira, he's got a very good style against Oliveira because he can probably take Oliveira down. I mean, Oliveira's takedown defense ain't all that, but like we said, or like I've been saying nonstop, Benoit Saint Denis wrestling ain't proven. On the feet, he could get clipped. Oliveira, I think, probably is the hardest hitter in the division. Obviously, that's debatable. You got Dustin Poirier, Gaethje, a couple other guys as well that hit very hard. Chandler hits very hard. I mean, fuck. A lot of people hit hard in this division, but I would say Oliveira probably hits the hardest because he cracked Gaethje's chin, and Gaethje has a very solid chin. He hasn't been put in his ass like that from what I remember. He's very good at these brawling exchanges, and I do trust Oliveira's scrambles, but Benoit Saint Denis genuinely has a very good style to beat Charles Oliveira. I'd say Charles Oliveira, 58% chance to beat Benoit Saint Denis. And then Islam Makhachev is a very bad matchup for Benoit Saint Denis because Islam Makhachev is very good defensively. And the reason why I think Benoit Saint Denis has such a good chance against a lot of these lightweights is because he is fighting fighters that don't have very good striking defense, whereas Islam Makhachev probably has the best striking defense in the entire division. I would say probably has a 65%, 70% chance of beating Benoit Saint Denis because he is that good. He is such a good striker. Probably a more technical striker than Benoit Saint Denis in his own right. Times takedowns very well, and will be able to control Benoit Saint Denis from the top. But Benoit Saint Denis does have a path to get to the title. Once it gets to the top 5, it's really hard to predict them to beat any of those guys. Like I said, I would predict him to beat Beneil Dariush just because we have seen Beneil Dariush fold from the pressure of a Charles Oliveira. And I think Benoit Saint Denis' wrestling is better than Charles Oliveira's right now, and he does have very solid scrambles as well. Once he's on his back, he could absolutely get fraud checked, and I could look like an idiot for giving him a chance against a Gamrot, but I honestly just think Gamrot's wrestling really isn't all that good. I'm really hyped for Benoit Saint Denis. Could he potentially become champion? Yes, I wouldn't bet on it, but he is 27. He will continue to improve. I really hope his wrestling is legit. I don't know how legit it is. I think it's probably below an Arman Tsarukyan, probably below a Gamrot, but his striking danger is going to put it on a level that's as effective as Gamrot's because Gamrot's probably pure wrestling is a better wrestler than a Benoit Saint Denis for comparison, but Benoit Saint Denis' wrestling, the way it is used and how effective it will be in an MMA fight probably will be on the levels of a Mateusz Gamrot just because you have to really, really be scared of this guy's hands. So overall in the rankings, anyone ranked from 9 to 15, I would predict him to beat. I would predict him to beat Gamrot and Beneil Dariush, and he's going to be in a lot of fun firefights. And the thing about a guy like a Benoit Saint Denis, maybe he's just that much better in firefights than we thought, and he's able to come out on top of the Gaethjes and the Poiriers and all these guys just because of how fantastic his chin is. He's going to be so much fun going forward. Guys, please look out for him. This is the up-and-coming guy. I'm really cheering for him. France, I really hope you guys got a good one because Ciryl Gane really ain't making you guys look all that good right now because he's been ducking Aspinall, doing all this hypocritical stuff, and he ain't a true man. He ain't a fighter, man. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.